thank you for joining us. I'm Joy.
And I'm Laura.
And this is The Witches of Letters, a supernatural rewatch podcast.
Buckle up as we dive into Season 3, Episode 8, A Very Supernatural Christmas. Yay, Christmas!
I mean, it's April, so it's not even Christmas in July, but what are you going to do?
It made me happy that I got some Christmas in April.
Yeah. It was really fun. I did not remember, the order of episodes. I remember this episode. I've seen it a bunch, but I forgot that this was even an option, which is probably for the best, because I feel like I would have been sad at Christmas time that Laura and I couldn't watch this together because it would have been spoilers. So it was really fun to sit down and watch it and have a little bit of Christmas glee in the middle of spring for no reason.
I love Christmas.
Yeah, Christmas is pretty epic.
Yeah. I did like how we got the necklace origin story as well. I was so excited when I realized that was happening. I was like, oh.
Yeah, honestly, this episode is so pivotal. It's so important. You get so much background information about so much more of what their life was like as kids, what Dean's role was in the relationship, what Sam was like when he was younger, and the stuff that he endured as well.
Yeah.
This episode is so important in my book. I think it's one of the most key episodes for their character development. I really enjoy the glimpses that we get of them as kids. A lot of those episodes are my favorite episodes because there's multiple of these spread out throughout the show, throughout the years.
Yeah. I feel like you've got a rant about this later, but I liked the necklace bit because it shows how Sam sees Dean now as his protector rather than John.
Yeah.
Because he's like, well, he didn't
Daddy
show
Dean.
up, so have the present I was going to give him.
I absolutely do have a rant about this later. Thank you.
John.
Yeah, John is just the worst ever. Honestly, oh man, I can't with him. But also what I love is they started building Bobby into the backstory. Because it's where did you get it?
Bobby.
And Sam's like, Uncle Bobby gave it to me.
So cute.
It's adorable because when you stop and you think about it, what that actually means is that Sam really wanted to get his dad a really nice present. Okay, up until this point, John has also been his hero, I feel like, and I feel like this is the first time that John really let him down. This is when the bubble broke for him. And so he snuck around and spoke to Bobby and was like, I need something really cool for my dad. And when you know what I know about the amulet and what the amulet can actually do and how pivotal it is in this world, it's that is the sickest thing ever. But then Dean is way more worthy of it than John. So I'm so happy that it went to Dean.
Yeah. I don't know what the origin, the full origin of it. Obviously, I know that this is where he gave it to Dean and Dean always wears it. I don't know what it's of, though. I know you sent me a picture of it earlier.
Yeah.
But is it some sort of god's head or something?
Yeah. So it's a old school, very Babylonian style god's head.
Oh, cool. I like that. I did also find something on IMDb that calls it the Samulet, which I thought was cute.
Yeah, because Sam gives it to him, so it's the Samulet.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite things. I love it so much. It makes me very happy.
My other note I had up front is that I feel like this episode gives a bad name to pagans because not all pagans eat people. Not all pagans.
It is a bit rude if you're pagan. I have some funny, witty repartee, if I say so myself, as we go through it. But cool. Surprisingly, and I feel like Laura's going to be like, Joy, again. But surprisingly, I actually really like the gods in this episode. I feel like they're honestly not that bad. They just snack on a small amount of human beings sometimes.
A small amount of human beings, yeah.
A handful. And I'm just saying, if they restricted their appetites to dickheads, husbands who beat their wives, bad people, then I would fully...
with it.
Yeah, exactly. This is what I'm saying. My case to them would have been, what if you just thought about who you were eating, and then everybody wins? You get your offerings. You could eat even more people because you'd be eliminating bad people from the face of the earth. And then you could maybe grow in power a little bit. Because I support the whole rant that they have. I thought it was great and also kind of hilarious. I just feel like they needed to tweak their menu a little bit.
Yeah, I suppose so. Oh, I had one more fun fact for the preamble, and that is that I found something out, which was also, I was like, oh. So obviously I've heard about the origin of Jared's Always Keep Fighting campaign. But I found out from the trivia section on IMDb that it was the filming of this episode where he had a panic attack that started it all, and how when the doctor then suggested he might be depressed. So yeah, so I thought that was cool.
Yes. I actually love that. So like Laura and I have discussed it a little bit. She's seen a couple of things about it. I've spoken to her a little bit about it because we specifically wrote Always Keep Fighting into our outro for this reason, because I think that it's something that's important. It's something that's important to me. I feel
Yeah,
like
same.
it ties a lot of the SPN family together. I love that one of the things that is intrinsic in our fandom is our awareness and support of mental health issues. Somebody who has mental health issues, I am all the way on board with that. So
Yeah,
I like
me
to
too.
think that our little Always Keep Fighting at the end of every episode is a nice little nod to it. And I actually have a bunch more information about this, which I'm going to drop as the Easter egg of this episode. Because,
Ooh.
as many of you may remember, I have already covered Krampus and like Anti Claus stuff because we did our spooky Christmas episode. So what I've done is in my show notes, if you guys go looking, if you want more detail about anything that Sam mentions in his lore drop, I have it all for you as links. But I thought that it would be a lot more fun to spend time talking about Always Keep Fighting and
Yeah.
Jared's awesome journey to support mental health publicly, because I feel like what he has done is really noteworthy, and what the show, like everybody in the show, really, like a lot of people have come out in support of different mental health charities. I just love this one so much. So I'm really excited to tell you guys all these different Easter eggs about it. And I think it works really well with the theme of the episode, because a lot of this has to do with the mental health of the brothers, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot
Yeah, it
of
does fit.
deep stuff in this episode. Yeah.
I did wonder whether you were going to recap the Krampus stuff from the bonus episode. But yeah, if people haven't listened to that, you'll have to go and listen to the bonus episode, our Christmas one we
Yeah.
did.
Yeah. If you want spooky Christmas lore, definitely go listen to that one. And then obviously hit the links in my show notes for this episode, because I do cover like Black Peter. I cover the thing that they mentioned in this episode. It's like Nick Holt or some, I forget what they say. It's a Germanic sounding thing. That's just something that the show made up. I checked that out. So I can tell you that as my preamble fact. That one is just invented by the show for the show.
Okay.
So there is a long article on Black Peter that you can read if you want to, and there's a long article on the other source of the Anti-Claus that you can also read. That is all linked in there. I also have the links to the main charity that Jared chose to support for Always Keep Fighting for the first campaign. So you guys can go through, you can donate, you can shop and get some cool clothes if you want to, and you can support a good cause at the same time.
Cool. Should I do the synopsis?
Yes, please.
So this is season 3, episode 8, A Very Supernatural Christmas. The original air date for this episode was December 13th, 2007. Sam and Dean investigate a series of mysterious deaths around Christmas time where victims are pulled up chimneys. At first, they suspect an evil version of Santa is committing these crimes, but eventually discover they're dealing with pagan gods who require human sacrifices during the holidays and have disguised themselves as an older suburban couple. Sam and Dean track them down via Christmas wreaths that they have made that have been distributed through the town to mark the homes of their human sacrifices. They are captured, however, and have to improvise to break free and defeat the murderous couple. This episode also features flashbacks to a young Sam and Dean reliving a bittersweet Christmas memory that highlights their brotherly bond and explains why Sam doesn't like to celebrate Christmas, even though Dean is trying to convince him to do so this year because it'll be his last one. The episode ends with Sam having a change of heart and the brothers celebrate a makeshift Christmas together in their motel room.
I really like that scene.
What, the one at the end? Yeah, same.
Yeah, I think it's so adorable where Sam's pulled out all the stops to cheer up Dean and like just be a good brother. It's literally an adorable track.
It is. So the opening scene, it says it's 1 year ago, and we see a house all decorated for Christmas. A doorbell rings, and a little boy called Stevie answers and lets his grandpa in. He wishes him Merry Christmas and gives him a huge hug. And I wrote, so cute.
It is so cute. Also, can I just say, I really like the opening sequence because they did a special little bit at the beginning that's like a very special, and then they open it and it looks like a Hallmark movie and it's so
Yeah.
Christmassy. And I love the lead in to this scene, and then every single thing inside the scene is kind of giving like Home Alone before he starts arguing with his parents. It's like the most perfect house, the most
Yeah.
perfect tree. Everything looks ideal. It's great. It's a good setup for the scares.
I did also read on IMDb that the opening is a direct parody of the CBS movie special opening from the 80s. But obviously, I don't really know what that was, but I'll put that in for all you Americans out there.
Well, I do know what that was, and I appreciate that.
It's like the spinny bit.
So I was looking at it, and I was like, this is 100% something that I know, but I couldn't figure out what it was, and now I know. So
Yeah.
thank you.
There you go.
It's
I
my
wasn't going to say it,
childhood
but then I'm glad I
memories.
did.
Yeah, yeah.
So Stevie asks his grandpa if he's bought him any presents, obviously. And then I said, Santa brings the presents, Stevie. And then the grandpa says that himself and asks if he's been a good boy this year. And he says that he has. And then we cut to later, and the grandpa is dressed up as Santa, putting the presents under the tree. He rings some sleigh bells, and Stevie creeps halfway down the stairs to watch through the banisters. He's so happy to be seeing Santa, but then we hear a loud thud, which Stevie thinks is the reindeer on the roof. But Grandpa's like, what the hell? And then more noises and soot coming down the chimney into the fireplace. Grandpa goes over to investigate and sticks his head up there. And I was like, what are you doing? And then he gets grabbed by something and pulled up the chimney. And then there's a loud, horrible crunching noise, and a bloodied boot falls back into the living room, leading to Stevie's childhood trauma.
I wrote, so my notes say, did you notice the glitter menace pouring down the chimney? Because when you hear the thuds, there's like ash and soot and stuff, but there's definitely glitter in it too.
Christmassy.
It reminded me of Krampus. And I thought it was a great touch. And then I wrote, Grandpa Santa gets brutally murdered. A bloody boot, maybe with the foot still in it, drops out of the chimney. The kid is unfazed. Because initially, like, he looks fully unfazed. And it just made me laugh. Because I was like, he's just, like, in shock and in denial, I guess.
Yeah.
And that part was such a weird thing to see. Just him sitting there. There's no scream, there's no nothing. I was like waiting for the scream, which kind of made it funny to me.
Yeah, he's just in shock. Poor Stevie.
Yeah.
Poor granddad.
Poor kid. Yeah. He's just a boot now.
Yeah. But so that whole scene was a year ago, and then we get the title card, and then we cut to like the present day, and it's a place that I can't even pronounce. Ypsilanti, Michigan.
I assume, yeah.
Dean's pretending to be the FBI, or from the FBI, is questioning a woman about something very similar to the case in the opening scene that has just happened. She says her husband was decorating the tree. She heard a thump on the roof and her husband scream, and then he disappeared. There was no forced entry, and no one had a key except her parents, who live in Florida. And then Sam walks out of the house where he's had a look around, thanks her, and says they've got everything they need. Dean says they'll be in touch, and they leave.
I wrote, thirst traps for days. The suits, the ties. There's sympathetic Sam looks and Dean trying to be compassionate, which is basically just his shutting up and not saying your husband is super dead lady. And it made me laugh so hard. And then the dialogue as they're walking out of the house kind of killed me too, so I wrote this down. There's like Dean saying find anything, and Sam sighs and like he goes stocking, mistletoe, this, and then he hands him this bloodied tooth. Ew. And Dean's like, a tooth? Where was this? And Sam's like, in the chimney. And Dean says, the chimney? No way a man fits up a chimney. It's too narrow. And Sam's like, no way he fits up in one piece. And Dean's like, all right, so if Dad went up the chimney, we need to find out what dragged him up there, is what Sam like follows on. And it's just so good. It's a great way of setting up the episode. It's disgusting. I thought that was awesome. I was very much into the suits and the walking in unison.
Yeah, you like it when they walk in unison, don't you?
I love it. It gets me every time.
Well, now we know why Grandpa's foot fell down the chimney then, because he couldn't fit with all his body pieces intact.
Yep. Ripped to shreds.
Ugh. To start with, I thought that the whatever the creature was like eating them, like biting into them and breaking them up, but it might just be literally from pulling them up a small space.
Yeah, that'll do it. And then you end up with like accidental leftovers, like that dude's foot in a boot. Gross.
Yeah. Ew. So then the next scene, we've got lots of close-ups of pictures of Krampus. And I wrote, Sam is researching Krampus lore, just like Joy did for our Christmas bonus episode. Another plug for that episode.
Yeah.
Dean comes in and doesn't know who Dick Van Dyke is. And Sam can't be asked to explain. And then Dean says that another guy in town has also gone missing under the same circumstances as the other case. And then Sam has a theory, and that theory is Evil Santa.
That theory is Evil Santa, which is fun. I love the use of the word anti-claus. So my notes on this scene are Krampus art for days. I actually love Krampus Christmas cards, especially the one where the sister is like, sucks to be you, Jimmy. Maybe you shouldn't have broken my dolls, you jerk, because you just see him grabbing her brother, who's screaming and crying in the back of his sack, and she's like, ha 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 ha. You can hear the cackle through the Victorian card. It is great. And also, I love that line. So, like, what Laura's talking about with the whole Dick Van Dyke joke is Dean says, so I was right. It was the serial killing chimney sweep. And Sam's like, yup, it was Dick Van Dyke. And Dean's like, who? And Sam's like, Mary Poppins. And Dean is like, what? And it's so funny because he has no idea.
He must have watched Mary Poppins, surely. If Sam has.
Yeah. I don't know how that happened, but he's either denying it because he doesn't think it's manly enough. Or
like the bedtime stories episode where he refused to admit that he knew any fairy tales.
Yeah.
Except the three little
said
pigs.
He wasn't going to kiss a frog because he's a princess. Yeah. So, I was like, sidebar, I love this Hallmark Christmas card motel and I would stay here, by the way. And then they're talking about the whole Santa thing. And Dean is like, the witnesses heard a thump on the roof. And Sam's like, actually, I have an idea. And Dean's like, yeah. And Sam says, it's going to sound crazy. And Dean says, what could you possibly say that sounds crazy to me? And Sam says, Evil Santa? And then Dean is just like taken aback. And then he nods and he's like, yeah, that's crazy. Sam says, yeah, I mean, I'm just saying that there's some version of the Anti-Claus in every culture. And then he shows him all the Evil Santa pictures. And he says, you got Belsnickel, Krampus, and Black Peter. And he looks at it, and Sam's like, whatever you want to call it, there's all sorts of lore. And Dean's like, saying what? And Sam says, saying back in the day, Santa's brother went rogue, and now he shows up around Christmas time, but instead of bringing presents, he punishes the wicked. And Dean says, by hauling their ass up chimneys? And that had me laughing. And Sam says, for starters, yeah. And Dean says, so this is your theory, huh? Santa's shady brother? And Sam says, well, I'm just saying that's what the lore says. And he's so defensive about it that it made me laugh. I was like, I have to tell you all of this because it's hilarious.
So wait, are some of those supposed to be Santa's brother then in the lore?
Yeah, so there's variations of them where Krampus or Belsnickel is his brother.
Oh, okay.
Not in every single one, but just in some variants from what I can tell. So if you want to read about them, the links are right there in my show notes. And you guys can just tap and read everything that your heart could desire about all of these creatures.
I liked how Dean's like, Santa doesn't have a brother. There is no Santa. Because I was like, in my opinion, if demons and stuff are real in this universe, then why can't Santa be real?
Yeah, and they already hinted that angels are real too.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, Santa is real. Just saying, obviously.
Oh, and then there's a bit where Sam is saying, yeah, I know, you told me that about Santa not being real. And I wrote, poor Sam, Dean was a mean big brother for telling him that.
You can tell that he didn't mean to be like that when you see the scene. But like, yeah, I was just like, come on, Dean, do better. Shield him. He's young. You could have let him believe a little longer.
Yeah. So Dean says he found out that both victims went to the same place before they disappeared. Sam asks where, and then we cut to Santa's village. And I wrote, this place has the saddest looking employees ever. there's a dude in a reindeer costume who looks really depressed, and then he walks past an elf, and they're just both like, "Hey." I was like, "Oh, this is a fun, cheery place to work."
I will say that I feel like all Santa's Grotto employees are traumatized. And I feel like this is very real from my experience of working in the mall. This is true to life, I feel like, this part. I love that this whole episode is basically about their childhood and the backstory. And when we get into the opening part of this, I kind of thought like they were gonna I was excited to see the flashbacks. And I wrote, this Santa sign is the stuff of nightmares, because when they're walking into the Santa park, there's a giant Santa sign as they're walking in, and it's old and the color's faded, and I think they tried to make it looks kind of 50s-ish. The way the color has faded out of it, it's only red and white now, and it looks evil. Okay. It's like a clown jump scare kind of a situation. Like what Laura's always pointing out, and I was like, this is the stuff of nightmares. This is not okay.
This scene was really random, actually, because in my notes I put, so Sam and Dean are talking as they arrive, and Dean is saying how they should have Christmas this year, but Sam isn't convinced. Dean insists that they'll get a tree, etc. Like when they were little. And Sam's like, our Christmases were shit when we were little. And Dean's like, what? And Sam says no to Christmas. And Dean says, all right, Grinch, and walks off. And then for some reason, Sam has a staring contest with a reindeer. It's so random.
Okay, so what happened here? This made me laugh. And I was like, Dean is describing the ultimate Charlie Brown Christmas tree childhood, because he talks about them getting Boston Market. And Boston Market is like, you go into any cheap American supermarket, and there's a thing called Boston Market, which is like the rotisserie chicken stuff. Like, it's like done meals. So it's like, the idea was like, your mom wouldn't have to cook, or your mom would get a day off, or whatever, like old school stereotypes. You know what I'm saying? So the idea was you get not a full roast, the way that the English experience it, but like a close to an entire made up meal. Generally, it is just the chicken, but in some places you might get like some potatoes or some other stuff that would go on as sides. And so Dean is talking about like they used to get like supermarket roast chicken and sides. And like when you see the tree that eventually gets dragged in, it's like they snapped it off and then found lights or stole lights from somewhere. And I was just like, this is so pathetic, but also so cute. And I love these scenes. Like I wrote, Dean, who still wears the amulet every day of his life, wants Christmas. 1, because he is Dean. 2, because of the obvious looming hell issue. And then him and Sam are like arguing about it, and I was like, Sam, this is why he wants it. Like, get on board. And then Sam has this extreme close up with the goofy looking moose, like reindeer, and it reminds him of Christmas Eve 1991. And then you have a flashback because he's then watching Santa's reindeer on the TV. So the idea was like the goofy looking reindeer reminded him of the cartoon reindeer. It's the same reindeer from the cartoon he was watching. And that's what starts the flashback. That's why he has the staring contest.
Okay. So we go into the flashback, and little Sam is wrapping a present for John, and little Dean asks if he stole it. And Sam says, no, Uncle Bobby gave it to me to give to him. And I went, ah, Uncle Bobby.
Yeah.
They discuss if John is going to be back for Christmas. And I just like, he's just left very young children to fend for themselves at Christmas.
Yep.
Ugh. Sam's asking lots of questions about what John actually does, and Dean is deflecting them. Sam asks if John is a spy, and Dean's like, he's James Bond.
Yeah, I like that part. I thought that was so funny.
That's also why Dean is obsessed with James Bond.
Yeah.
Sam asks to know the truth, and Dean's like, you can't handle the truth. And then Sam asks if that's why they never talk about their mum. Oh, and this is why I had a bit of a rant at Dean, because I put, now he asked very sweetly and innocently, maybe even a little sadly, but Dean flies off the handle straight away, shouting at Sam right in his face, saying, shut up, don't ever talk about mum, ever. And I went, all right, that's a bit of an overreaction. And then he storms off in a very dramatic way, leaving his little tiny brother alone.
Laura, Dean is a child. His mother was murdered brutally. No. Absolutely not. He is a baby. You cannot hold him responsible like he's a grown man. He's not a grown-up. He's a kid. We're not going to parentify Dean the way that John has parentified Dean for baby Sam. We're not doing it. So yeah, it is. Sam is so sad. I literally wrote, Sam looks so sad. You just want to kick John Winchester in the nats.
Yeah, because he's probably never ever been told anything about his mum at all because he was a baby.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's natural for him to have questions.
It is natural for him to have questions.
But you're right, it should be John that is answering those questions though, but he's not around, so he's having to ask Dean.
Yeah. There are no winners in this scene, but it's definitely not Dean's fault. This poor kid, honestly, like this poor kid, because also he's been told his whole life to look after Sam and never let Sam be upset, basically. And John has decided to tell his other child, Dean, who he doesn't really care that much about, apparently, all of the terrible things in the world and how it's his responsibility to look after Sam. I get so angry because this happened to be in my family too. Like, I, as the older child, got completely fucking parentified from such a young age. So I, like, seriously identify with Dean. But, like, it's the way he pulls himself together later on and comes back and tries to bring Sam Christmas and tries to sort it out for him. Like, he's so caring and so kind and so compassionate. And that is also why I defend Canon Dean. When they write these shitty lines for him, I'm like, no, he didn't say that. That's not Canon Dean. You can't do that. So yeah, that's my take on this scene.
So then we cut back to Sam and Dean. Dean asks what they're looking for, and Sam says the law says that Auntie Claus will have a limp and smell like sweets to lure the young children in. Dean says that's creepy, which is exactly what I was thinking.
Yep.
And then we see the creepiest and perviest Santa ever.
I wrote, oh no, it's giving Nightmare on Elm Street. Because it really was. So they then get into an argument because Dean wants to do Christmas still, and Sam is like, I don't want to do Christmas. So Sam says, look, Dean, if you want to have Christmas, knock yourself out. Just don't involve me. Dean looks at Sam in disbelief and says, oh yeah, that'd be great. Me and myself making cranberry molds. And that imagery had me completely cracked up. Like, I was done. I laughed so hard. Because, like, there's the image of Dean baking.
What's a cranberry mold? You'll have to explain that to me.
Okay, so it's like a cranberry jello that gets put into a really specific shape.
Okay.
So a woman in an elf costume walks up to Sam and Dean, and the script calls her Elfin, which I think is hilarious. So Elfin says, welcome to Santa's court. Can I escort your child to Santa? And Sam says, And Dean says, no, but actually my brother here, and he smacks him on the shoulder. It's been a lifelong dream of his. And she looks at him like he's an absolute freak and says, sorry, no kids over 12. And Sam's like, no, he's just kidding. We only came here to watch. And Elfin looks at Dean, who shakes his head. Elfin backs off and says, ew. And Sam says, I didn't mean, we didn't. Thanks a lot, Dean. Thanks for that. And Dean laughs out loud and then turns serious and says, check it out. And they watch the Santa get up and leave his chair, and he's walking with a limp.
I love it when Sam's awkward.
The Sam being awkward is amazing. Sam says a lot of people walk with limps, and Dean's like, tell me you don't smell that. That was Candyman. And he says, that was Ripple, I think. Had to be. And Dean's like, we're not going to take that chance, basically. So then the next scene, you see them outside of Creepy Santa's house, and they're staking him out from inside the Impala. Dean has had enough, and he asks Sam what time it is, and Sam says, same time as last time you asked me. And then he says, here, caffeinate. And Dean takes the thermos and goes to pour it out, but is like completely bone dry. And I can't tell if Sam honestly didn't know that he finished the last of the coffee, or if this was just a wind up. It could be either thing. He's like, wonderful. And then he says, Sam, and Sam's like, yeah. And Dean's like, why are you the boy that hates Christmas? And Sam's like, Dean. And he's like, I mean, admit it. I know we had a few bumpy holidays when we were kids. And Sam's like, bumpy? And Dean says, that was then. We'll do it right this year. And Sam's like, look, Dean, if you want to have a Christmas, just knock yourself out. Just don't involve me. And Dean's like, oh yeah, that'd be great. And then they go back to watching the house, and the Santa dude starts closing his curtains. And Dean says, "What's up with Saint Nicotine?"
That was funny.
And that made me laugh. So they get out of the car and they run over with guns drawn. And I was like, this is a thirst trap. This is a thirst trap for days.
Yeah, well, it's because they've heard a woman scream and they always have to react to a woman screaming and run on, save her.
Yeah, because they're heroes. And the woman's voice says, "Oh my God." And my notes say, when they run out, it is like the hottest thing ever. I love it because they're running in unison with weapons, and that's sexy. That's even better than walking in unison. So, as they're going in, Dean looks inside the window of the front door, and Sam goes, "Huh," out loud. And Dean says, "What?" And Sam says, "Nothing. It's just that, well, Mr. Gung Ho Christmas might have to blow away Santa." And Dean rolls his eyes with implied violence. Like, it's when you roll your eyes at your sibling and you're like, I will knock your head off your shoulders in a minute. Like, it was so funny. I love the brotherly banter. It's the best. So then we cut to inside of the house, and Santa's sitting on the couch holding the biggest bong and a bottle of whiskey. And I wrote, how the fuck does that thing even work?
It's even bigger than Andy's that time in his truck.
Yeah, it's like comedy big. Like this, when this man is sitting down, this bong is the same size as his whole body sitting down. Like it is 5 feet tall at least. I don't understand. So Santa stands up and Dean and Sam hide their guns, and Santa's like, "What the hell are you doing in here?" And Dean looks around and realizes that he's watching the TV. And it's like very weird what he's watching. It is. I have no idea. It's definitely kind of porny. The man on the TV is saying, "I'm not really interested, okay?" And the woman says, "Missile my toe, roast my chestnut, egg my nog."
It's definitely porn.
It's hilarious too. Dean looks like Sam, and Sam's like, what?" And the woman on TV says, "Jingle my bells." And I just couldn't get over the dialogue. I was like, this has to be said out loud because it is wild. And like, I assume that they made that. Like, you know how in Home Alone you have that mini movie with the "keep the change, you filthy animal"? Like, I assume this weird ass porno is something that they actually made and inserted in the background of this.
I bet no idea. There must be Christmas porn. They must have. I don't know. Also, I always thought that the one in Home Alone was a real film as well.
No, they made it. They made it specifically for the film. So it's like a movie within a movie. Anyway, so Dean starts to sing really badly. He goes, "Silent night, holy," and he looks at Sam, who's like, "What are the next words?"
You were singing way better than them, by the way. Just then, you were
trying to be so bad. Honestly, they're like, "Night," and then Santa laughs. And then he's like, "All is well." And Santa singing along, and he goes, "All is dry." And I was like, I know he's high. I know he's drunk. Why is he okay with this? Like, 2 people just broke into his trailer while he's about to watch something filthy, apparently. And he's suddenly fine with everything that's happening. And Sam goes bright. And Dean and Sam and Santa go round and round. And they don't remember any of the lyrics. And Sam says, "The table." And I died round and round the table. Like, I just... So then he grabs Dean and goes to yank him away. And they pull... That kind of ends that scene. But I died laughing. Like, that was hysterical. Hysterical.
Yeah, same. So then we cut to another house. And we see the outside all lit up with decorations. And then we see inside. Oh, and I like the transition here between outside and inside. We hear a loud thumping on the roof. A kid hears and goes downstairs, much like Stevie did in the opening. He walks to the fireplace and tells Santa that he's early. Then there's a crash, and we don't exactly see what has entered via the chimney, but from the little kid's expression, it is something very scary. And this poor little kid is so adorable with his little penguin pajamas.
So and cute. He has curly little cherub hair as well, doesn't he? Yeah. I wrote, this kid will need therapy, but honestly, in this economy, I'm struggling to feel sorry for these people. They have more money than God.
Well, then, evil Santa climbs the stairs, and we see his boots, and they look like they're covered in blood, which was rank. He goes into the room at the top of the stairs. We hear a woman screaming and then a loud slapping sound and a thud. Evil Santa comes back out, dragging his sack behind him, and he clearly now has a man in it and drags him downstairs, past the kid, and then we hear a crunching sound. I think that's he killed him. He killed the man.
Yeah.
The kid who's been in freeze mode this entire time then starts backing away from him, and we think Evil Santa was going to grab him, but he reaches over him for a cookie instead. He then drags the man towards the chimney, and then we get the blackout. And this is where, right, this poor child is going to be traumatized for the rest of his life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he clearly has the money to pay for therapy. So he will get the help that he needs because he is a rich white child. So he'll be fine. And then also, like, this was another reason why I liked the god, because he was like, am I taking your father away to snack on later? Yes, I am. But will I eat your cookie so that you feel better about Santa? Yes, I will. And he eats the cookie.
Yeah. Also, I just want to point out that even though the kid has money, doesn't necessarily mean he's going to go and have therapy, because it was very stigmatized and still is.
That's true. And that's relevant to my Easter egg later.
So the next day, Sam and Dean are questioning the mother. She confirms that the little boy told her Santa took Daddy up the chimney. She explains what happened from her point of view and that she didn't see the attacker because he had knocked her out. Sam then asks about the wreath above the fireplace, and Dean looks at him like, what the fuck are you asking her about her interior decorating choices for?
Yep.
And then so does the woman, because she's like, excuse me? And then he gets awkward, because we like awkward Sam, and says, just curious, And then when they leave, Dean's like, what was that about? And Sam says that the Walshes, who were the first victims, had the same wreath. And also, I just want to point out that Sam is a thirst trap for this entire scene. It's the combination of his hair that looks really, really good, and the crisp white shirt and the suit is doing it for me today.
I can confirm. Like, I feel like Sam thirst trapped really hard in this episode.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie. Like, I will give that to you. Okay. 100 points to Laura. My notes were like, Sam going, Mrs. Caldwell, where did you get that wreath above the fireplace? And Dean looks around at the wreath and then blinks and then looks at Sam like, what the fuck? And Mrs. Caldwell says, excuse me, and then really outraged, because you would be. Like, he's come there to interview you about the brutal murder / whatever's happened to your husband, because she thinks he's been kidnapped, doesn't she? And she is so mad, because she's like, why the fuck are you asking me about my decorations at a time like this? And Sam looks at Dean like, save me. And Dean looks at Sam like, I have nothing. I have no people skills. And then Sam dies inside, visibly. And, like, the acting was incredible. And then on their way out, Dean says, wreaths, huh? You sure you didn't want to ask her about her shoes? I saw some nice handbags in the foyer. And Dean is like, for once, I was not the one fucking up social engagements, and I'm going to live this up for as long as I possibly can. And then Sam gets his own back, though, because Sam is like, this is why you're a himbo, and I'm the one with the brains. Because Sam's like, we've seen that wreath before, Dean. He's like, switch on before I switch you off, oh my fucking god. And Dean's like, where? And Sam says the Walshes, yesterday. And silently I wrote himbo. It's like he's thinking that so loudly. You can see it on his face. And Dean says, I know, I was just testing you. And Sam goes, and then just walks away.
He wasn't paying attention to the decorations.
No. Oh, I love it so much. Sam is so smart. Dean's such a himbo. It's everything.
So then we're at the motel. Sam is just getting off the phone with Bobby. Dean asks what he said, and Sam says he called them morons. And said there was probably meadowsweet in the wreaths. And Dean's like, what the hell's meadowsweet? And Sam says it's rare and the most powerful plant in pagan lore. And I wrote, joy? Question mark.
I don't know if I would say that it is the most powerful plant in pagan lore, but I will say that it is part of a triad. And he does actually mention the other plants as well, which is used by druids in very specific rituals. So he's not totally off base. And then I have a little fact sheet. So when I did my research, what I found is that meadowsweet is associated with love potions. It is used to make mead, which was a sacred drink of the druids, and the other herbs that it is sacred alongside the triad that I mentioned are actually vervain and water mint. and they were really, really revered. So in their lore, it said that it was used to identify thieves. And it says, if you had something stolen recently, try this. Gather a sprig of flowers, sow the meadowsweet, and drop it in water. If it sinks, the culprit was a man, and if it floats, it was a woman. And the article goes on to say, and if I have not quite convinced you of the merits of meadowsweet, one book on wildflowers and folklore claims that the sweet scent has the power to grant second sight and an ability to converse with the fairies. I was like, oh, that's pretty great. So, it is pretty potent in the folklore. And that's my folklore drop for you for this episode.
Cool. So, as usual, it is I think this show does quite a good job of the lore being accurate most of the time, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's mostly on point.
We'll see if that continues, because obviously I know you said about how once Kripke isn't as hands-on, it sometimes goes, but that's
it gets a little
the
bit
location ones. But
yeah.
Cool. I like that they do their research.
Me too. And it gives us all those fun Sam thirst traps.
Yeah, because I like him being smart.
The research traps.
So Sam says they'd use meadowsweet for human sacrifices, and Dean's like, but why? Sam says that most Christmas traditions are pagan.
Correct.
Oh, this is funny because Dean's like, Christmas is Jesus' birthday. Sam's like, no. Jesus' birthday was probably in the fall. It was the winter solstice festival that was co-opted by the church and renamed Christmas. And Dean says, how do you know that? And I wrote, 1, because he's research boy, Dean. And 2, clearly he's becoming a pagan hottie.
I love that so much.
This was quite funny though, because Sam's like the younger sibling, but he's like, I know more than you, and you're stupid.
Yeah, no, I love this vibe. He then brings up Hold Nakar, which is the one that the show made up. So the other ones that are mentioned, they're legitimate deities, but Hold Nakar they made up. So that must be the name of the male god in this story.
I did wonder, because I was like, that is a stupid name, because it sounds like holding a car. I was like, this can't be real, but I didn't actually look it up.
Yeah, when I looked it up, I can't find anything, a reference to anything outside of this episode of Supernatural. So that must be the name of their god.
Okay. Yeah, because they say he's the god of the winter solstice.
And that when you sacrifice to Hold Nagar, that he gives you Dingo's lap dances, hopefully. And that made me laugh. And then Sam goes mild weather. And I was like, human sacrifices for mild weather? Like, I can understand back in the day before refrigeration, but now? But obviously we find out later on that it's the gods doing the sacrificing, not the people of the town. Because I thought it was going to be like Scarecrow the first time I ever watched it.
Yeah, it reminded me of Scarecrow a bit when they said about the pagan stuff.
Yeah. So they notice that there's no snow in the middle of December in the middle of Michigan. And Sam's like, yeah, exactly. So the whole thing about it being like chum for the gods, I couldn't find anything about that. I will say the Druids did definitely engage in human sacrifices, though there are a lot of articles out there that are like, they did it for this reason and they did it in this way. And that is not factual. Like, we have Roman historical accounts, and then we have archaeologists guessing, which is their job, and I support them in their guesswork. But we still haven't translated any of the Celtic alphabet. We haven't translated the Ogham stones, so we don't actually know all of the purposes or how things were done. So you could argue that they're being accurate with that, or you could kind of argue that it's a little bit iffy from a historic standpoint. But like it tracks.
Have they tried to translate the Celtic alphabet and they just can't, or if they just like, we don't need to know that?
They don't know. They haven't found the Rosetta Stone for it, basically. So they still have no idea what the rocks say. Eventually we'll figure it out, and I will be fascinated.
Yeah.
We're really disappointed when it's like, go left when you see this rock to get to this place. We're all like, it's sacred secrets of our elders. And then it turns out to
just
be
road signs.
Or like in Rome, where a lot of it is just like graffiti, where it's people slagging other people off, and it'll be like, this guy's shit in bed.
One of my favorite things when I went to the Roman baths, was that they found a whole load of just like tin plates or something, and they're basically like Karens moaning about things.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I don't like this person anymore because he stole my shoes.
Yeah.
And then they chuck them in, and it's supposed to be like, you chuck them in and then something happens to that person.
Those are curse tablets. So they're curse tablets where you go into, usually I want to say it's the Temple of like the Furies, but don't quote me on that because some variances may apply. But it would be the deity that you're petitioning, and you would write down the reason why you wanted that person's shit fucked up, and then you would throw it in the temple. And I fucking love the fact that we have curse tablets now, and a lot of them are from women being like, "This man did me wrong. This man is an ass. Please make his penis fall off." That's one that was really, really popular, and I love it so much. It cracks me the fuck up. I feel like we should bring it back. Like, let's bring back curse tablets, guys. Let's do more of that. Hex the patriarchy.
All the ones I saw were just like petty things, and they translated them, and I've spent so long looking at them because it was hilarious.
It is amazing.
So Sam then says that Bobby is working on a way that they can kill it, like the pagan god, and they discuss that they need to find out where the wreaths are being sold because someone might be doing it on purpose to sacrifice people.
Yes, correct. So they go into this little shop because they track it down to this guy's shop, right? And they walk in, and the shopkeeper's like, "What can I do for you?" And Dean says, like, can I help you? And Dean says, "I hope so. We were playing Jenga over at the Walshes the other night, and well, he hasn't shut up since about this Christmas wreath." And he goes to Sam, he goes, "I don't know, you tell him." And Sam gives Dean the filthiest look. Because Dean is basically, like, he's not necessarily setting them up to play a gay couple, but he sort of is at the same time.
Yeah.
And Sam's like, "This is the only direction that I can go in to get this detailed about this wreath." And that is hysterical to me. So Sam looks at Dean like, "I hope you die immediately, like right now, like go to hell immediately. Immediately, the earth will swallow you up now." And says, "Sure." And then he turns to the shopkeeper and says, "It was yummy." And the shopkeeper's like, "I sell a lot of wreaths, guys." And I actually thought this was so wholesome because he has two apparently super gay dudes in his shop. And he's like, "Yeah, that's fine." And I was like, oh, in the 2000s? In the 2000s? So I was happy.
See, I hate this guy. I've got a rant about him in just a second.
Oh, no, he's a jerk, but he's not a homophobic jerk. He just wants all your money. So he says, "I sell a lot of wreaths, guys." And Sam's like, right. But you see, this one would have been really special. It had, and he's trying to think of how to describe this. Because he knows exactly what he wants to ask for, but he has to make it sound like he doesn't know. So this is so ridiculous. He's like, green leaves, white buds on it. It might have been made of meadowsweet. I'm like, Sam. And the shopkeeper says, "Well, aren't you a fussy one?"
No.
And Sam looks so embarrassed.
Yeah, because he's being an asshole. He's not being fussy.
He is. But it's like, when you have a partner of any gender, okay, on any part of the gender spectrum, and they're like, "I have to have exactly this, only this one thing will do for me." That is how it comes across in this conversation, where he's like, "I need the super exclusive meadowsweet wreath. That's the only one that's how it's being interpreted." So I was like, I found it funny. I can understand also how you could read him as a dick. That's fine too. Both are valid. That's
not how I read it. I read it as he was like, "I sell loads of wreaths, so you're going to have to narrow it down." Sam then narrows it down, and he's like, "Well, aren't you fussy?"
That's also a valid take, okay? That's also a valid take. So, Sam looks at Dean like, this is, again, like, "I hope you go to hell immediately right now." He's so fucking furious. It is hilarious because Sam silently furious at Dean is one of the funniest things I've, like, Jared is such a great actor. He's such a great actor. So the shopkeeper says, "Anyway, I know the one you're talking about. I'm all out." And Dean says, "Seems like this meadowsweet stuff pretty rare and expensive. Why make wreaths out of it?" And he's like, "Beats me. I didn't make them." And Dean's like, "Oh, who did?" And the shopkeeper says, "Madge Kerrigan," which I heard her name the whole time in this episode pronounced as Mitch. But the script says Madge for days. So now I don't know what to say.
In my notes.
I heard Midge all day. I don't know what's wrong. Like, I don't know if I'm wrong or if they're wrong or anyway. So he says that she's a local lady And she said the wreaths were special, so she was giving them to him for free. And Sam says she didn't charge you. And the shopkeeper's like, no. And Dean says, did you sell them for free? And the shopkeeper's like, hell no, it's Christmas. People pay a buttload for this crap. And Dean says, that's the spirit.
Oh dear.
Amazing. Amazing.
That was funny. So then back at the motel, Dean asks how much one of the wreaths would cost, and Sam says a couple of $100 at least. And I went, are these wreaths made out of gold? Yeah. What? $200? I don't think so.
Meadowsweet. Can I just say meadowsweet is a weed. It's like a dandelion.
Why would it be $200? Anyway. Dean says, so why is she giving them away for free? And Sam says it's suspicious. And I was like, yeah, I already said that, Sam. But he couldn't hear me, obviously. Dean then starts asking Sam if he remembers a wreath John brought home one year. And Sam says, you mean the one he stole from a liquor store? And Dean says, yeah, it was a bunch of empty beer cans. And I just wrote, what? A beer can wreath? Why? And also, why is Dean trying to get Sam to remember their sad childhood memories of Christmas? And then I realised, and I was like, oh, it's because it's his last one.
Yeah. So Sam says, all right, dude, what's going on with you? And Dean says, what? And Sam says, I mean, since when are you Bing Crosby all of a sudden? Why do you want Christmas so bad? And Dean says, why are you so against it? I mean, was your childhood memory that traumatic? And Sam's like, no, yes. That has nothing to do with it. And also, yes. Yeah. And Dean says, then what? And Sam says, I mean, I don't get it. You haven't talked about Christmas in years. And Dean's like, well, yeah, this is my last year. And Sam sighs, and then he goes, I know, that's why I can't. And I want to cry. Okay. And also Jared Padalecki is an incredible actor because he made my heart break. Like this scene, oh, bro. Dean says, what do you mean? And Sam says, I mean, I can't just sit around drinking eggnog, pretending everything's okay when I know next Christmas you'll be dead. And Dean kind of nods, and he says, I just can't. And then he realizes how sad Sam is, and then both of them are basically silent. And this is, on that note, where I'm going to put my mental health Easter egg, because they're going through it, and I feel like it ties in well with mental health. Because they're not okay in the scene.
No.
Okay, so like Laura noted, it was during the filming of this episode that Jared had his breakdown, basically. He had a pretty serious panic attack on the set. He'd been having personal issues around the time of this filming, and the doctor diagnosed him with clinical depression at this point and anxiety. And that is what kicked off his Always Keep Fighting campaign. And so he started selling shirts with a Sam Winchester portrait on the front and then Always Keep Fighting on the front of that. And that was to benefit a charity called To Write Love on Her Arms, which raises awareness and provides support for people suffering from depression and related illnesses. And I thought that it was so cool that he took something really dark and turned it into something really good. So I'm going to tell you guys like quite a bit of detail around the back end of this. So what had happened was he had this experience, and then not that long afterwards, unfortunately, he lost his friend who committed suicide. And so basically, Stephen and Mel had been doing a lot of charity work to fight cancer. And Jared had been having conversations with him, and Amel had basically pointed out that, like, because they have such great fan followings, they have a really good capability to actually help people and turn their platform into good. And so Jared dove in like wholeheartedly. So I actually have pictures of his tweets. So you guys can see what the t-shirt looks like. And there's some really nice articles that I've linked in that you can read. But there's this excerpt that I think is really, really good. So the interviewer is talking to Jared and says, I tweeted that I was going to talk to you, and somebody reached out to me and wanted you to know that as someone with borderline personality disorder, they appreciated everything that you're doing. What's it like to live with that kind of positive effect on your fan base? And Jared replies, "It's really hard to put into words. It's been amazing. Hopefully it's helping to destigmatize these issues because it's all around us. It's ubiquitous and people hide it. If somebody has cancer, they're not embarrassed to have cancer. They know it's not their fault. They know it's a struggle. But for some reason, if someone says they're depressed, they assume that people are going to look at them like they have three heads. Hopefully this is helping to start a conversation." And I thought that was really good because this is from several years ago now. And it really was and still is kind of a taboo topic. And people, when they start trying to discuss or share their depression, are still met with, in certain places, a lot of derision. And
especially men as well.
Especially men. Men's mental health is in a crisis. And I think that it is so important that we create a space where people in general, but also men, can be like encouraged to share if they're having a struggle, if they're having an issue.
I do think stuff like this helps because men see other men saying giving their own version of things that they've been going through, like Jared has, and that then helps because then they're like, okay, if he can say stuff, then maybe I can as well. And it is definitely helpful.
Yeah, there's actually a psychologist in one of these articles who basically says exactly what you just said, and says that it's really important and that he is really happy to see more celebrities talking more openly and raising more awareness about mental health issues because it helps a lot of people. And he says that he sees specifically an influx of people coming in after that happens. Like, you can see trends. He says it's like markedly helpful. And you can document these waves of people going in after celebrities opened up and said, this is something that's going on with me. So it really does make an impact. So the interviewer goes on and says, "Why did you decide to start the Always Keep Fighting campaign?" And Jared says, "A month or so after we started talking about it, I received a phone call on New Year's Day, and I learned that my friend of 10 years had lost his battle with depression. I'm not alone here, and there are so many people out there who have experienced the same thing. I have friends and a life and people I work with, and I get a lot of love and support. This campaign is more about those who don't have as much of a support system as I do." So then in May of 2015, 2 months after that article ran, Padalecki canceled appearances at fan conferences, writing on what was then Twitter that he was in desperate and urgent need of his family and needed to go home. His manager explained in a statement that at the time Padalecki had pushed himself to his limits and was suffering from exhaustion. 2 months later, a refreshed Padalecki appeared at a Comic-Con in San Diego, where more than 6,000 fans held up electric candles in his honor, a gesture that moved him to tears. The clip is worth watching.
I think I might have seen that, actually. Did you send it to me?
I sent you that clip so we can sit and watch it.
Oh, that's the one you sent me to today. I think you might have sent it before as well, or I think I've seen it anyway.
Yeah. But it's so beautiful. So the background of it is that at Comic-Con 2015, Supernatural fan Annie Kern, who is at house_of_darkly, organized a thank you gesture for Jared's work on Always Keep Fighting with the support of Random Acts. She produced 1,200 tea light candles. Each features the anti-possession symbol and Always Keep Fighting. Under this, it read, "SPN family, 10 years strong and counting." And then it said, "Share why you fight, #Always Keep Fighting Hall H." So the lights were packaged in a cellophane bag, along with a card with instructions of when to turn them on and the following message. "Everyone is given a candle that burns just for them. When your flame flickers and you fear it will go out, know that not even the strongest wind lasts forever, and there are other lights to guide you, even in the darkness. And when your candle burns bright, you can ignite the hearts of others, and hope will spread like wildfire. Always keep fighting, and you'll never fight alone." Isn't it so beautiful?
Yeah.
And you can see Jared in the video, which I've linked in my show notes so you guys can watch it, get really like emotional. You can see the minute that somebody passes him the note, because up until that point he had no idea what was going on. And then he took to Facebook because he wanted to clarify his reaction, and he felt so moved he wanted to say something. So this is what he wrote: "A thank you to anybody and everybody that had any part whatsoever in the Always Keep Fighting Hall H Tea Light event. As I travel back to Vancouver from San Diego Comic-Con with my partners in crime, Jensen Ackles, Mark Shepard, and the enormity of what happened is finally starting to sink in. I am beyond moved. I feel so blessed and so grateful and honored to be a part of the magical supernatural family. Sitting on that stage in Hall H, I initially mistook all of the lights for cell phone cameras. It's difficult to discern specific shapes and faces with all of those stage lights shining on you. And it's quite intimidating up there, sitting in front of 6,500 people. But exclamation point, exclamation point. Then when I had a light given to me with an explanation of what it was and what it stood for, I was and still am gobsmacked. Thank you. From the very bottom of my heart and soul, thank you so much. I will never forget this day. I will never forget the love that I felt and still feel. And to everybody who held a light for me, please note that I hold my light for you. Laura, he's so cute. I can't
cry.
I know. Though I happen to be the one sitting on stage, I am but one small light in a sea of thousands. Together, which he put in Oz caps, which just makes it more adorable, we can and will make a difference. Keep letting your light shine. And I will do the same. And keep fighting. Always keep fighting.
I'm literally crying now.
I know. In addition to buying t-shirts for fellow fans, a number of other fans campaigns have been inspired by Always Keep Fighting. Some fans made items such as Always Keep Fighting bracelets or t-shirts and donated the proceeds to organizations such as To Write Love on Her Arms. The site, Carrie, on SBN, started a message board where fans could share their stories. So he's just done so much. And I love so much that groups within the fandom just kept it going and just kept paying it forward. And I really adore the fact that people were given a space to share their stories of their mental health journeys, because I think that's the biggest thing that we need to destigmatize mental health, is to make it acceptable to publicly talk about your health and your issues.
Yeah.
And I just know that it's had such a huge impact. So that is my Easter egg. Highly emotionally charged.
I'm literally crying now.
I'm not gonna lie, Laura's gonna make me sound so cool because she's gonna edit it out, but I paused so many times because I was like, I can't cry because I have to say the words out loud for this to work on the podcast. But when I was typing it up and I was like cutting and pasting from all these articles, literally I was in floods of tears, and then my bell rang and I went downstairs and this random man trying to get me to buy milk. I was like, no.
Aww.
But yeah, wow. Jared is a beautiful soul. And it
makes me love him even more now.
Doesn't it? Isn't it gorgeous? So like I said, just a quick reminder, if you guys want to support these charities, if you want to be part of Always Keep Fighting, I have included the links to the charities mentioned, and also from the other articles you can go through. They have their own internal links, and you can donate to help destigmatize mental health and support other people. I fully intend to buy some really cool t-shirts from To Write Love on Her Arms. I took a little sneak peek at the designs early and they were fucking fantastic. So highly recommend checking that out.
Okay, I'm gonna have a look. Also, I like the candle thing because now I have suffered from depression and anxiety, and I like that because every time I light a candle, which is quite often, I'll be able to think about that.
Yeah. It just makes you feel less alone. Like I remember that this happening in real time. I was not there, but I was watching the beautiful people who upload their con footage on YouTube so that all of us can experience it together as a family. You guys give me life. Thank you so much. That hit me at a point when I needed it. I was like back in therapy. I was really struggling. I was realizing that I had complex PTSD, and I was like, what do I do with myself? I was not having a good time. And this moment really meant so much to me. So anyway, in conclusion, Jared is great. I love our fandom. This is the reason why we have Always Keep Fighting as a tagline at the end of all of our episodes, because it is important and it's a cause that we personally believe in and support. We love all of you guys. And that pretty much sums up this Easter egg. So we're going to dive back into 1991, where Sam and Dean are sitting in the motel again.
So in all my flashback notes, I have either written Little Sam and Dean or Baby Sam and Dean, by the way, just so we don't get confused.
So cute!
So Little Sam is asking Dean what's really going on again. and he's asking about the guns and the salt because there's something about a gun under Dean's pillow and why they have salt everywhere. He then shows Dean that he has John's journal and he asks if monsters are real. And Dean gaslights him at first, but then tells him the truth when Sam insists. He says that monsters are real and their dad fights them because he's a superhero.
And Sam says, but Dad said the monsters under my bed weren't real. And Dean says that's because he already checked under there. But yeah, they're real. Almost everything's real. Sam says, is Santa real? And Dean says no.
Yes.
But he says it nicely. He says it gently. We say yes
real, Sam,
also.
don't worry.
So Sam says, if monsters are real, then they could get us. They could get me. And Dean says, Dad's not going to let them get you. And Sam says, but what if they get him? Dean says, they aren't going to get Dad. Dad's like the best. Sam says, I read in Dad's book they got Mom. And Dean does this kind of like he's centering himself. He says, it's complicated, Sam. And Sam says, if they got Mom, they can get Dad. And if they can get Dad, they can get us. And Dean says, it's not like that. And then he moves around and sits next to Sam like all big brother, and it's beautiful. He says, okay, Dad's fine. We're fine. Trust me. And Sam looks really sad and worried. And he says, you okay? And Sam says, yeah. And then he looks away, and you can tell he's not, in fact, okay. John Winchester, I'm glad you went to hell, John Winchester, because you belonged in hell for this.
Yeah.
Sweet baby angel Sam. So Dean says, hey, Dad's going to be here for Christmas, just like he always is. And Sam's holding back tears, and he says, I just want to go to sleep, okay? And Dean says, yeah, okay. And then he lies down, and Sam basically silent cries. And Dean stays there sitting on the edge of the bed, and he says, it'll all be better when you wake up. And Sam kind of cries harder, and he says, you'll see, I promise.
Little baby Sam crying was so sad.
Little baby Dean comforting him was everything also. Can I just say, I was like, I love Dean. I'll always love Dean. I'll love Dean forever and ever and ever.
They were so cute. And even, right, John died at, the end of season 1, beginning of season 2, and he's still causing problems.
He's always causing problems forever. Can I just say?
Are we going to have John rants forever?
We will have John rants forever because he's the worst father. Okay, he gave Dean a gun at the age of what? Under 13. Like I cannot. I understand there are monsters, but still.
And didn't even go back to see them at Christmas.
Yeah, so this is Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. He's left them alone for a full 2 days. Also, there's a bit at the beginning of this scene where Dean, after he went out to cool off because he had that blow up at Sam about Mary, he came back with food because it's all that he could get. So clearly he's having to scrounge for food because John hasn't provided them with fucking food either.
Yeah, or money to get food.
Yeah, he gives them Funyuns and some other stuff like crisps, but they're supposed to be pretend onions. So he says, eat your vegetables, and that part made me laugh.
Yeah,
he's trying. He's trying so hard. Like, he's literally being Sam's dad. And this is why it is so insanely gorgeous a little while later on when Sam gives him the necklace instead of John.
Yeah. So before this flashback, they had said about the Carrigans and how she was the one who made the wreaths. So then they go to a house that is heavily decorated for Christmas, and Dean is being sarcastic, saying, boy, can't you just feel the evil pagan vibe? And I wrote, he's going to eat those words in a minute.
I wrote, when Dee Dee's trying to pass as people, laughing my ass off, this is perfect 1950s sitcom neighbors.
Oh, yeah. I have a rant about that later as well.
Oh, good.
So Madge Carrigan answers the door and they inquire about her wreaths and if she has any more for sale. And she says no. And then her husband, who is called Edward according to IMDb, although I don't think anyone ever says his name in this episode,
Edward
appears behind her smoking a pipe and wearing a brown cardigan. And I wrote, this couple think they're in the 50s. I don't trust them. But I actually think it's a pretty good choice because they give the vibe of not quite fitting in with the times. Like they're trying to blend in, but they're not quite getting it right. So I actually thought it was genius.
Yep. I loved it for the exact same reason, because I feel like if you're ancient pagan deities and you're trying to be human, you're not going to do it perfectly, probably.
Yeah. They're probably going to watch some TV programs, which were obviously sitcoms.
Yeah. Well, I feel like they try to absorb different eras and assimilate into the eras, but they're literally gods. They've lived forever. So they don't have a great grasp of like modernity. So they haven't like moved forward again. And it is creepy and fun all at the same time. Like the fact that they're doing the 1950s sitcom makes it truly excellent in my opinion, because there's a little bit of a low-key creepiness to the 50s, especially in white suburban 50s. Like, ugh. So that's pretty excellent.
It's very like Stepford Wives.
It is very Stepford Wives.
So then we cut back to the motel and Dean is sharpening some foot-long and girthy steaks, just like they like them. And also, this was really funny because Dean's obviously brought a bin over for the wood shavings to go in, but he's totally missing the bin every time. They're just flying around, which I thought was really funny.
That is great. That is great. Also, can I just say, earlier in that scene, Dean tries to eat the food that they offer him, and Sam's like, "No, don't do that!" And he smacks his arm. He's like, "Could be people."
Oh yeah.
And as we go through the next couple of scenes, like that was very relevant, and Sam probably saved him from cannibalism. Can I just say, good job, Sam. But yeah, they were basically like fence posts that he has that he's sharpening from Home Depot. That's what it looks like to me. And my aside was those sticks are like a foot long and girthy, Laura, because I knew you were going to say it. Oh, it was the best.
And then Sam is on the laptop researching the Carrigans, and he tells Dean that they used to live in Seattle last year, and while they lived there, there were 2 abductions around Christmas, and then they moved where they are now in January. And he also says that they didn't have boughs of holly in the house, it was vervain of mint. And Dean says, pagan stuff? And Sam says, serious pagan stuff.
I can confirm, yes, that is accurate.
Serious pagan stuff. I just liked how he said that.
It was great. It was my favorite thing.
Dean thinks that they are hiding a pagan god in their house and they decide to check them out. Sam then explains the stakes, saying that Bobby says evergreen stakes can kill the pagan god.
I thought that was a weird choice, just from a witchcraft perspective. That like an evergreen thing would kill an evergreen thing. I don't know. It just seemed a little bit iffy to me.
And also like, because these pagan gods are like super, super old, and trees that are evergreen, like they use pine tree later, don't they? And pine trees are like not very old and like quick growing. So
I feel like yew would have been a much better. I guess yew is technically an evergreen, so we could pretend, but like that would have been a better fit from like a witchcraft perspective. That would have made a lot more sense.
I suppose they wanted it to link to Christmas, didn't they? So they had to use Christmas tree.
Yeah, they did.
Also, I suppose we also don't want them cutting down really old, nice trees like big oaks and stuff. So
we do not. Save the trees, people.
So then they go back to the Carrigan's house and break in. They split up and search the house. They go into the basement and find bones and blood and shit.
Bones and blood and shit. Oh my god.
All right, creepy basement alert. And also, have they been cutting people up with a bandsaw? Because that's what it looked like.
Yeah. I wrote, hear me out. Was that supposed to be an eyeball or a gonad that Sam finds on the floor next to the murder Santa coat?
Didn't even see that. So glad I didn't.
Go either way, honestly.
Either way is disgusting.
It was graphic.
Yeah, then Sam finds one of the sacks used to drag people out of their home and goes to open it. And I went, don't do it, Sam. And he reaches out to touch it and the bag starts moving and we hear someone grunting inside. Sam, shocked, jumps back and then starts being strangled by Madge and lifted off the ground by his neck. Dean sees this and is like, Sam, which we like.
We do like it. Anytime he's like, Sam!
Yeah.
I wrote, ooh, the double jump scare of Sam reaching for the sack and this guy moves and screams and then Mrs. God grabs Sam by the neck from nowhere. That got me. That was a good jump scare. Yeah.
Yeah. When Dean runs over there, he's getting ready to stab her, isn't he, with his stake? And then he gets attacked by, apparently, Edward, Mr. Carrigan.
Apparently, Edward?
They don't say Edward, I'm pretty sure. What does the script say, actually?
Mr. Carrigan.
See, they didn't even know he was Edward either.
No.
So yeah, Edward smashes his head against a wall and knocks him out. And that looks like he's going to have a concussion now.
And
then Madge is like, gosh, I wish you boys hadn't come down here. And it's super creepy.
Yep.
And then there's that light effect where a light goes over their faces and they look kind of dead.
I wrote that was lame.
Mm.
It was definitely supposed to be a jump scare, but I don't know if it hasn't aged well or if it just was never scary to begin with. But it just like it didn't really do anything for me.
Yeah,
it wasn't
but
that
it's
scary.
Are they supposed? They're not supposed to be like ghosts. So what? I don't.
Yeah, what the fuck? I don't know. It was weird.
Anyway, and Sam gets knocked out as well, and I wrote, oh no, they're both knocked out.
Not Sammy. They wake up tied to chairs in the dining room. And there's some fucked up tools lying around, and we can tell that things that are not good are about to happen. So they start doing their ritual to be able to kill and eat the boys. And Mr. Kerrigan is saying, uh-oh. That's not what he said. He says, oh no, don't get all wet, because they're having an outrage about the fact that they're like killing people. And Madge says, oh, why, we used to take over 100 tributes a year, and that's a fact. And then she puts a napkin on Dean's lap and says, now what do we take? What, 2, 3? And puts another napkin on Sam's lap. And Mr. Kerrigan says, Hardy boys here make 5. And Madge says, now that's not so bad, is it? And Dean says, well, you say it like that. I guess you guys are the Cunninghams. Really sarcastically. And Mr. Kerrigan says, you, mister, better show us a little respect. And Sam says, or what, you'll eat us? And I laughed so hard at that, because the way he is absolute sass on the verge of death is great. So Dean's face when she pulls that meadowsweet out of nowhere is the best thing ever. He was so mad because he was like, well, you can't sacrifice this without the meadowsweet. And she just whips it out from under the table like an evil Martha Stewart. It was amazing. And then Mr. Kerrigan picks up this pair of pliers and he's like, you boys have no idea how lucky you are. There was a time when kids came from miles around just to be sitting where you are. And he stands in front of Sam with the tool. And Sam's all panicked and he says, what do you think you're doing with those? And Mr. Kerrigan smiles all menacingly. And Dean looks imagined. He's like, you fudging touch me again or I'll fudging kill you. So earlier, when she goes to stab him with the knife, he like drops bombs, right? And she's like, oh, don't you say that. You know what I say when I want to swear? I say fudge. So then he does it. And then she says, very good. And then she slices his other arm. And he is in absolute agony. And it's pretty gross because the blood is just flowing into the bowl. And I'm like, oh my good God, what's going on here? So then Mr. Kerrigan grabs Sam's hand. And Sam's going, no, don't. And then he rips the nail out of Sam's index finger. And Sam's screaming. And I just wrote, this was absolutely hideous. I was not okay. It looks very real. They obviously built a fake finger and a fake nail to do it. It was body horror, no.
I had a very visceral reaction to it. And I literally shouted like, out loud. And then I couldn't even watch it the second time.
Yeah, it's horrible. So Mr. Kerrigan then holds it up and says, oh, we got a winner. And it's just the juxtaposition of the cheerful 1950s perfect couple against what they're doing and how horrible it is makes it super creepy, and I love that. I thought that part was great.
Yeah, creepy and annoying.
Exactly. Annoying. Okay, so the Kerrigans put all the ingredients in the bowl and start stirring them together, and that's pretty graphic and gross too. And Matt says, what else do we need, dear? And Mr. Kerrigan says, well, let's see, fingernail, blood, oh, and then he hits his own head. Sweet Peter on a popsicle stick. He laughs. I forgot the tooth. And Matt says, oh dear. I just couldn't. It was so funny. Well, it was gross and menacing and terrible, but it's also kind of funny. And Dean's breathing hard and says, Merry Christmas, Sam. And Sam's groaning. He doesn't say anything. Oh, God, I love Dean so much. And Mr. Kerrigan picks up pliers and grabs Dean's chin and like forces his mouth open. And he's like, open wide and say, ah. And then he puts the pliers in Dean's mouth, and Dean's groaning and like in obvious pain as this man is about to try to rip a tooth out. No anesthetic, no nothing. So the doorbell rings. And Dean, through the pliers in his mouth, says, sorry, I didn't get that. And Matt and Mr. Kerrigan look at each other, and Sam looks so relieved. And Dean's like, you didn't get that. And it's so funny, you guys. Like, it's so funny. And Mr. Kerrigan rolls his eyes and sighs and says, come on. And Dean's like, oh, thank fuck. And he's like rolling his tongue around his mouth like, I still have all my teeth. I still have all my teeth. So they go to the door and they just have this encounter with this annoying neighbor.
She is annoying. They're all annoying. I literally wrote, all of these people are insufferable. The neighbour is just as cringe as the fake 50s gods.
The fake 50s gods. Yeah. I can confirm. So,
I hate them all.
They go back in, and there's a fight scene.
So they get rid of the neighbour and go back to the dining room and to continue the ritual, but Sam and Dean have gotten free. They make it into another room and barricade the door. Dean says that the stakes they've made are in the basement, so what do? Sam says they need more evergreen. Then he sees the Christmas tree and realises they can use that. And I think this is actually a flaw. I know we kind of talked about it before, but if the pagan gods' law is that this always takes place around Christmas time, and seeing as evergreen can kill them, and every single house has a coniferous tree in it for Christmas, why do they do this at Christmas?
Why would you? No, that is a perfect point.
Yeah. So then they start ripping branches off the tree. This is hot, by the way. By the time they've done this, Edward has found a way in and attacks Dean. Then Madge comes in, says something creepy to Sam and punches him. He falls, but slaps her in the face with his tree branch, gets back up and stabs her with it. This was also hot. And then I just wrote, all the tree stabbing is hot. Because Dean then stabs Edward.
I am shook because I wrote Sam enjoys staking her too much. He stabs her a couple of times. He went very Dean. I felt like this is another one of those scenes where we're supposed to read into it that like he's come back a bit wrong. He's come back extra violent. And then I wrote underneath, I actually really liked the gods. I was sad that they were murdered.
No, I wasn't. They were annoying.
Fair enough.
Then we get another flashback. Oh,
it's so cute.
Yeah,
it's so cute. It's beautiful, Laura. It's snowing outside. Sam is asleep, and Dean shakes him. And he says, "Sam, wake up!" And Sam wakes up. And he goes, "Dad was here. Look what he brought." And Sam looks around at a little Christmas tree decorated with a few lights, where it looks like Dean has like dragged this in from the cold, stolen some twinkle lights. It's great. It's so thoughtful. And Sam's like, "Dad was here." And Dean says, "Yeah, look at this. We made a killing." And Sam yawns and says, "Why didn't he try to wake me up?" And Dean's like, "He tried to like 1,000 times." And Sam's like, "He did?" And he's so earnest. It's so cute. And Dean says, "Yeah, did I tell you he would give us a Christmas or what?" And Sam looks around and he says, "Go on, dive in." And Sam jumps out of his bed and hurries over to the Christmas tree, and he finds these 2 presents wrapped with like Christmas wrap. And one of them has this green shiny bow, and Sam sits on the couch and unwraps his first gift. And Dean sits on the other side and watches super excitedly. And he's like, "What is it?" And Sam says, "Sapphire Barbie." And Dean makes a crack about Dad probably thinks you're a girl. And Sam's like, "Shut up." And he throws the Barbie on the ground. And he says, "Open that one." And it's a cheerleading stick. And he looks at Dean. And he says, "Dad never showed, did he?" And Dean's like, "Yeah, he did, I swear." And Sam says, "Dean, where'd you get all this stuff?" And Dean realizes that he's been caught, basically. He looks down, and this is the cutest thing ever in life. And he sighs, and he says, "It's the nice house up the block." And Sam looks away. He says, "I swear, I didn't know they were chick presents." And Sam kind of nods along. It's so cute.
Boys can have Barbies too, Dean.
They can. But Sam clearly didn't want Sapphire Barbie.
No, he didn't want it.
No.
Or so, a majorette thing. Whatever that was.
Yeah, the twirly stick thing. So he says, "Look, I'm sure Dad would have been here if he could." And Sam says, "If he's alive." And Dean's like, "Don't say that. Of course he's alive. He's Dad." And Sam nods, and Dean looks so heartbroken, and I just can't. And then he takes the present that he wrapped up for John out of the pocket of the jacket that's lying over the arm of the couch, and he gives it to Dean. He says, "Here, take this." And Dean's like, No, that's for Dad." And Sam says, "Dad lied to me. I want you to have it." And I was like,
because he trusts Dean, he doesn't trust John anymore.
Yeah, and he's such a baby. He's so young. My heart cannot take this scene. Dean looks at it, and then he looks at Sam, and he's like, "Are you sure?" And Sam says, "I'm sure." And it's beautiful. Okay, it's pure brotherly love.
Yeah.
On a level that we'll never see. It's brotherly love, the power of 10,000 suns. Okay. And Dean looks at the gift again, and then he opens it up, and it's the amulet that he's always wearing. So it's the god's head on a black string. And he
That's
says,
so
"Thank you,
cute.
Sam. I love it." And you could tell he means it. Like, he's not putting
Yeah.
it on, like, he genuinely loves it. And Sam nods, and he's like, "I've done the right thing." And it's the most
Yeah.
beautiful moment. I can't take it. Like, I would die instantly on impact at the level of cuteness of this scene.
Yeah. And we know he definitely loves it because he's literally worn it every day for 20 years since.
Exactly.
Aw,
This is the most beautiful thing in the whole wide world.
yeah. And it's kind of like Dean wears it because he likes to show he loves Sam.
Yeah, that's
It's cute.
definitely, like, the largest part of why he wears it, which is why we call it
Yeah.
this amulet.
Do they actually call it that later, or is that just what the fans call it?
I want to say that someone says it out loud, but I
Ah,
cannot remember.
either way, it's cute.
It is amazing.
Oh, the transition into the next scene I thought was really, really good because it goes from Dean putting the necklace on, like baby Dean putting the necklace
Mhm.
on, and seeing Sam's reaction to that, and then it cuts and it's
Yeah.
Sam's face now, who's been remembering that moment. Then Dean comes in, but the camera is focused on the necklace as he comes in the
I love it
door
so much.
instead of his face, and I was like, "Oh, so
Yeah.
cute."
It's
And then
beautiful.
Sam has decorated the motel room for Christmas, and then in my initial notes I wrote, "Ah, Sam made Christmas for Dean, and the tree air fresheners as baubles. Lol."
That was great. The room smells so good now.
Yeah.
Um, I thought that was amazing because also I feel like he was trying to like make it smell like pine to like make it smell like
Uh,
Christmas. He really
yeah.
thought it out. And there's the Merry Christmas sign that he got from like God knows where. Because nothing's going to be open, I feel like, at this time of night. So I don't know
He
where he
got it from a
snatched that
nice
from.
house down the street.
Probably. And it's just, oh God, you guys, it's so
So
cute. So
cute.
he's put on Ella Fitzgerald's Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. And the lyrics
Aw.
of the song go along with what's happening in the scene quite a lot as well. And it's just really touching and poetic. I love it so, 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 so much. And Dean says, "Hey, you get the beer?" And he holds up this cup of eggnog, and Dean looks kind of amazed because he was not expecting Sam to have eggnog. And he's like, "What's all this?" And he sees all the decorations. He's like taking it in. Sam says, "What do you think it is?" "It's Christmas."
I have a fun fact about the eggnog.
Yes.
It is hilarious. Right. In the end scene where the boys are having Christmas, Sam hands Dean a glass of eggnog and asks him if it needs more kick. The glass was supposed to be non-alcoholic, but Jared Padalecki actually dumped most of a bottle of rum into the glass without telling Jensen. And so Dean's look of surprise and the cough when he drank it were genuine reactions.
I love that so, so, so much. And when
Jared's
you
such a
watch the
prankster.
scene, he really is. When you watch the scene again, and you watch this play out, like, you can tell that it's, like, real when you know that
Yeah.
it's like, it really hits home, and it makes it 10 times funnier.
Yeah. And
Um,
Sam
laughs
laughs as well, which is obviously Jared laughing,
he
not
yeah,
Sam.
yeah, yeah, and Jared is cracking up. I love it so, so much, like, it's great. I think I watched it a couple of times around, like, I always, like, rewind it
Yeah.
and watch it again because that is the best thing ever.
I did watch it a few times once I'd read that fun fact because I was like, I need to watch this.
You get 100 more points because that
I
was
love
great.
that fun fact.
Yep. It's the
Pranks.
best. It's the best, especially when he's like, "Let me know if it needs more kick," and it's literally just rum. Like, the whole thing is rum. And Jensen almost dies on camera and just manages to stay in the scene, which, like, props to him.
Yeah.
Because so many people would have just cracked, but Jensen's like, "No, I'm gonna carry on. I'm gonna do this scene."
He sips it again later as well and also kind of does the cough again.
He's like,
um, yeah, that was funny.
they fully filmed the rest of this dialogue drunk, okay?
Is that why Sam says, let's do Christmas stuff or whatever? I loved that bit.
I reckon so. Because, like, Dean coughs and says, "No, we're good." And Sam's like, "Yeah." And Dean's like, "Yeah." And then, when Sam sort of looks away to look at the other stuff, Jensen/Dean makes this face of like, because that shit's strong. And I thought that was amazing. And Sam says, "Good, well, have a seat. Let's do Christmas stuff or whatever." Like Laura just said. One of my favorite lines in this episode, honestly. So then Dean looks at the Christmas tree decorated with the lights and the car air fresheners. And he's so happy. He says, all right, first things first. And Sam sits on the sofa. And Dean pulls up a chair and he takes 2 packages wrapped in brown paper from a plastic bag and holds them out to Sam. He says, Merry Christmas, Sam. And Sam's smiling. He's like, where'd you get these? And Dean says, someplace special. And Sam looks at him like, have you been thieving again on Christmas? He looks kind of scandalized. It's funny. And so he says the gas mart down the street. And Sam laughs out loud. And then he says, open him up. And Sam says, well, great minds think alike, Dean. And he reaches out and he gives him stuff wrapped in newspaper. And Dean's so surprised and so happy. And he says, really? And it's like no one has ever given him anything except for that necklace. Like, I feel like between the necklace and now, I feel like Sam's the only person to ever give him presents. Like, that's the vibe.
Probably. Definitely wasn't John.
Not John. Burn in hell, John.
Also, I just have to say that this gift exchange scene reminded me of that episode of Friends where Joey and Chandler bring them all presents from the gas station. They have like toilet seat covers and like wiper blades.
Yeah. So Sam says, there you go. And Dean says, come on. And Sam opens his gift, which is porn mags. And he laughs, but like he's delighted. And he says, skin mags. And Dean nods, like this was the reaction he wanted. And then he says, shaving cream. And Dean's like, you like? And Sam smiles and says, yeah. And then it's Dean's turn to open his presents. And he laughs while he's opening it. He says, look at this. And he's got a candy bar and a bottle of oil. And he says, fuel for me and fuel for my baby. And Sam nods.
That's
like,
cute.
yes, that was my plan all along.
I meant that this scene was so wholesome, except for the porn mags.
It is so wholesome, except for the porn. And even that is funny, because what that made me remember was, do you remember when Dean walks in on Sam watching the Casa Erotica thing, and then doesn't let him live it down for like 6 episodes afterwards? I felt like this was another jab, and it was great. So, Dean says these are awesome things, and then Sam says good. And then he looks a little bit sad. And then Dean lifts his eggnog and he says, Merry Christmas, bro. And Sam says, yeah. And he makes a toast and he says, here, Merry Christmas. And Sam and Dean are so quiet, knowing that it could be their last Christmas together. And then they keep drinking. And Dean whistles at the taste. And I'm like, is that Dean though? Or is that Jensen? They're drunk. They're just drunk at this point. And then Sam says, hey, Dean. And then he starts to say something and then he changes his mind and he says, do you feel like watching the game? And Dean smiles and he says, absolutely. And he's like, all right. And then he turns on the TV and there's a winter football game that they're watching. It's so cute.
That was bro code for, this is getting too emotional and I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. It's 100%. Let's never discuss emotions ever. Yeah.
I liked the shot though right at the end where it like pans out and it's from the outside looking in. And then you get baby glistening with the twinkle lights. So cute.
And you can see the inside of it is basically painted like a Christmas card, like the Thomas Kincaid one. So it's like a snowy scene. So the way that they're framed, you have baby in the frame, which is so important because baby is their home, not the motels. Baby is home. And then inside the shot, you have Sam and Dean in this like happy lit scene, and then with the Christmassy backdrop in the background. I loved it so much.
Yeah, Christmassy.
Wholesome.
Yeah, I liked this episode a lot.
Me too. I like rewatching it at Christmas. This is the Christmas episode. Well, it's one of the Christmas episodes, but it's the main Christmas episode.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely watch it next Christmas.
Yeah, we can watch it together. It'll be good.
Did you have anything to say before we do games?
Game away.
Villain hot or not?
No. Not hot. Unless we're counting John. Because he is a villain in the story, and he is hot.
Well, he's always going to be hot, yeah.
Jeffrey
Dean Morgan. We don't have to like him. We like looking at him. We don't like him.
Yeah, exactly. Eye candy.
What was your scare rating?
I give it like a 5 because of the good gore, but and the jump scares. There were a couple of jump scares that got me, but overall, it's not like it's more of an emotional episode than it is like a scary episode, isn't it?
Well, I gave it a 7 for the childhood trauma, both of Sam and Dean, but also valid. The little kids that see Evil Santa.
Who will be forever traumatized.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Favourite quotes? I've got 2.
Mine is, Merry Christmas, Sam, while they're being tortured.
I had, Dean with a mouthful of pliers. Somebody gonna get that?
that one is so good.
And I also had, let's do Christmas stuff or whatever.
I love that.
I think if I had to choose one, it'd be the second one.
I was going to say, I also love the sequence where they're pretending to sing Silent Night, but none of them know the words, and it just gets really unhinged. And then Sam is like around the table.
Oh dear.
Amazing.
What was your favourite thirst trap?
I struggled with this one, but honestly, I think it's when they're running up to Creepy Santa's house to break into Creepy Santa's house, because they're moving in unison and they have their guns out, and it's like a dual thirst trap.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
I just put all the tree stabbing.
The tree stabbing. For once, it's Laura coming through with the violence and not me.
I also liked it when they were ripping the branches off the tree, but yeah, the tree stabbing.
Yeah, that was manly.
MVP. I need to tell you mine.
What is it?
My MVP is the Christmas tree.
Oh my god.
But then I had a serious one and I said, I suppose overall it's Sam for the research, like realising they could use the Christmas tree, and for giving Dean his last Christmas. But I'm going with the Christmas tree.
Yeah. Well, you go with the Christmas tree and I'll go with Sam then.
Okay. Motel rating.
10. I love it. I would stay
10 out
there.
Of 5.
10 out of 5. I'm so serious about this. That's how serious I am.
I didn't actually give it a rating. I just had a note, so I'll give it 5. I bet it actually looked cute. I like all the sage green, and although the floral wallpaper was a bit busy, it was very pretty.
I thought it was trees on the wallpaper.
Oh, maybe it was.
It's
whatever it was pretty.
Little trees. Yeah, it was pretty. I like it there. We should stay there.
Yeah, put it on the road trip.
Now, quite seriously, I feel like, listen, Airbnb owners across the US, what you need to do is make your Airbnbs or hotel chains look like episodes of Supernatural. And you need to sell us, the Supernatural fans, themed hotels and motels. Because can you imagine the amount of business that you would get? Because the Supernatural fandom's huge and so rabid. Like, we would be in there 110% on every road trip. We'd be like, oh, we'll find a themed one.
We want the weird Western one. We want the blue hotel.
Although I never want to stay in the weird Western one. Yeah. Beer, absolutely.
The fishing one.
Christmas time, Christmas motel. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I liked this one because it's Christmas. So, yeah, that's all I have to say, really.
I loved it because we find out that Sam gave Dean the necklace.
Oh, yeah,
and
that was cute.
It's beautiful and adorable. And we also see, when they're little, Dean makes Christmas for Sam, and when they're older, Sam makes Christmas for Dean. And it's just like this beautiful full circle brotherly love thing. And that's my ending note.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I don't even know what the next one is. So,
it's Maleficarum or something. It's a witchcrafty one.
Ooh.
So that we'll have a lot to say.
Cool.
Okay. Should we say goodbye?
Say goodbye. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe. We would be very grateful. And if you know someone who would enjoy it, please share.
You can find us on Instagram at The Witches of Letters Podcast, or you can email us at thewitchesofletters@gmail.com.
Until next time, stay safe out there, have each other's backs, and always keep fighting.